2026 has been a total dumpster fire for my art confidence. So I thought, let's try something new. Acrylic markers. Ohuhu acrylic markers to be exact. And what did I get for my trouble? A literal green explosion inside the case. Is the universe telling me to quit? Or are these Ohuhu markers actually worth the hype? Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the messy. Welcome to Jimmy Dragon Studios. I originally was going to buy the 48 count set of the Ohuhu Nahuku acrylic markers. Then Amazon threw me a curveball. Buy the 72 count Nahuku set and get the 36 count Hanauma set for free. Naturally, I took the deal. A couple of days later, I had my markers. Lately, I have been very impressed with the quality from Ohuhu and their presentation of their products. These were also no exception. The case the markers came in were very nice. A very nice product indeed. The quality of the markers are very good, at least I think so. I'll be honest, I have no experience when it comes to acrylic markers. My experience is mostly in alcohol markers. However, I do feel that the acrylic markers are great. At least that is what I thought when I was swatching the colors. I first started with the Hanauma markers. These markers have the bullet nib style of the acrylic markers. Bullet nib is nice. I honestly don't prefer the style when it comes to alcohol markers. I like using the brush nib the best. That's just my personal preference. I guess this is a good time to mention the bad when it comes to this particular set. I discovered the one big mishap when I opened the set for the first time. Apparently one of the green markers, my BG27, decided to leak or explode in the package. There was green paint inside the case. Not a lot of paint. However, it was enough to be annoying. I did scrape off most of the paint in the pack, thankfully. There was some staining of the paint on the actual case. What was the issue? I discovered that the refillable end of the marker wasn't tightened down all the way. I also found that same issue on a couple of the other markers, as I was going through them during the swatching process. I also had one of my blue markers leak on me when I was shaking the marker to get the paint flowing. This is my other gripe that I have with this. It's a messy medium. It's using acrylic paint. Well, it just might be me, and it probably is. I haven't had much luck with acrylic paint in the past. I'm still new to the medium. I am still a little impatient with the drying times with the paint. Coming from a background of using alcohol markers, I'm used to the instant drying of the inks. I guess it's just that I like to work fast and keep going. So there were a few times in my drawing process with these markers, I had to stop on one drawing and move to the next drawing while the other one dried. I then started swatching the Nahuku acrylic markers. These were nice. I like the brush nib on these markers. All I had to do was shake the markers and go. They had this ready-to-go system with the markers and the paint in them. I will admit though, the coverage seemed to be a little less saturated with these than the Hanauma markers. The Nahuku markers flowed nicely and it was great. However, I felt that less paint was coming out of the Nahuku markers than the Hanauma markers. Regardless, I still felt that the Nahuku markers were great, and I prefer them over the Hanauma markers. What about the bad things? In all honesty, there isn't much bad. The one bad thing that happened to me was one of the markers wasn't working right. The white marker's little shaker that is inside the marker wasn't working. It wouldn't shake and mix up the paint inside the marker. That and the nib was feeling gooey. There was a buildup of crusty paint or something on the nib. I did clean up the nib and I tried to get movement inside the marker. I did get the little ball to wobble in there a little. However, it wasn't going to move. The white marker did work. I don't know for how long it will work. Alright, enough about that, and let's start using these markers on some artwork. For all the drawings I'm doing here, I decided to primarily use the Nahuku acrylic markers for all the drawings. As I stated before, I personally enjoy using a brush nib when it comes to coloring. I like that control the brush nib offers. I'll be honest, I did not know what to draw for my warm-up drawings in my sketchbook. So how did I get over that hurdle? I went to Google and asked, what to draw today? And in the search results, I saw the Pinterest link with the exact category. So I clicked it and went down that rabbit hole. So the first thing that caught my interest was a drawing of Baby Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. Why did I decide on Baby Groot? I saw who was the one who drew the original drawing I saw on Pinterest. It was from an artist I admire from my past named Robert De Jesus. He is an artist I look up to. I love his drawings and his style. Anyway, I was inspired by little Groot. He was too cute to pass up. My drawing came out really cute, I thought. Then I started to butcher it with the acrylic paint markers. They say when you're painting, there is an ugly phase. Well, I felt I was in that ugly phase all the way through till the end. I'm exhausted, boss. I'm a permanently exhausted pigeon. Well, I try to save Groot by using these new pens I picked up that I will tell you about in a moment. Of course, there was a point where I just left the Groot drawing to start on another drawing. That was because of the drying times with the paint from the acrylic markers. This second drawing, I know I have seen it before. I'm not sure where the little robot is from, but I am familiar with this design. Back to Groot now. I'm trying to save him. I picked up these Japanese ink pens from Tombow. I am glad I picked up these pens. They are very nice. The ink flows nicely, and the tips of the ink pens make inking very nice. I got 2 pens. One says it's a soft tip and the other is a hard tip. There was some English on the barrel of the pens that said what it was. Well, I did end up finishing Groot. I hope I saved him. Now back to the little robot. I felt that this drawing was also cute, and I did really enjoy doing it. It did get easier using the Ohuhu acrylic markers after I figured out how they work. Good thing I am in my sketchbook and not trying to do finished pieces of work. Bad drawings are king. At least that is what I say. Relish those bad drawings. When I finished Groot and the little robot, I decided to turn my attention to a little monster. Again, I have seen this little monster design before, but I don't know where I have seen it. I was just inspired and decided to draw it. Comment below if you know where these drawings come from. I would like to know. One thing I am learning about using these acrylic markers, the easier the character is, the easier the painting can be. It seems these markers are great to use on simple drawings. At least for me it is. Maybe I'm just getting better at using these. Of course, because I had to wait on some drying time again, I started to sketch another character. I decided to draw the little salamander that was from Frozen 2. I don't know its name. Is it a salamander? What lizard is this little character? Anyway, yes, I made a bad drawing. It was something to pass the time as I finished up our little monster. Okay, I think I'm done with my warm-up phase of my drawing session. I dabbled, and now it's time to dive. The next page of the sketchbook spread, I decided to draw my character Ella Linsdack. And with that, I should practice drawing a side profile. At the beginning of this drawing, I was struggling. I don't know what went wrong. I honestly don't have drawing a side profile all that well. I definitely do need more practice with this view. Something to think about in the future. When I finished with the pencil sketch, I decided to ink it first. I felt that I was getting better results with this way than just painting after the pencils. I found that out with the smaller drawings I was doing before. I felt I could do better with the paints if I had a defined area to color already, if that makes sense. With that said, I felt I was doing better with the coloring with this drawing. It was also harder to tell as well. The drawing of Ella wasn't a good drawing. It was okay. Maybe I am being a little hard on myself. I am trying a new medium, and one I am not that good with. However, this drawing did make me feel better about myself and my abilities with acrylic paint. Anyway, I think it's time I wrap up this drawing of Ella, and let's give my final impressions. Okay, my opinion of these Ohuhu acrylic paint markers. Overall, I am happy with these. I am happy with Ohuhu as a company. I also need to mention that because of the issues I had with a couple of the markers, I was able to get a partial refund of 10% back from my purchase price. I guess Ohuhu can't send out individual markers yet of each marker, so I was okay with how it ended up. It was pretty much, I guesstimate, the cost of each marker if you bought them separately. It works out. So the markers are good. I like using them. I will try to use them more in the future. I do want to get better at my acrylic painting game. Painting in general is an issue with me. It's time to change that, I think. And I felt that this try was a good step in the right direction. Do I recommend getting these markers? I would say yes. They are the only acrylic markers I have ever tried out. I do own a couple of Posca pens. I mainly use them for the white paint in my art. They are nice. I never really dived into them though, mainly because they are expensive. The price of the Posca pens, last I checked, were like 35 Canadian rupees for a pack of 12 markers. The Ohuhu ones were just a little over $70 for the 72. These Ohuhu markers made it easy to dive into them. The price did not make me think twice about trying them out. I think you should give them a try out as well. Thank you much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, become a friend to the channel. Please give the video a like. You might also like my last video where I decided to back a Kickstarter from Jazza, a popular YouTuber. He brought out his Color Quest series and I took a deep dive into it. Let's say it really upped my alcohol marker skills. Go check it out.